Imagine a world where your compass spins uncontrollably, your GPS goes silent, and the basic systems of modern civilization stumble in confusion. The Earth's magnetic poles are shifting, and this is not some distant geological curiosity, but a rapidly intensifying phenomenon that is already being monitored with growing concern. The magnetic North Pole, once a relatively stable marker, is now racing across the Arctic Ocean at speeds never seen in recorded history. From Canada, it has drifted past the Greenwich Meridian, surging towards Siberia, and scientists admit they are struggling to keep pace with the updates needed for navigational models. Planes, ships, smartphones, and even underground mapping systems all rely on those models, and every sudden change sends ripple effects across global infrastructure. Navigation systems, which underpin not only travel but also financial markets, agriculture, and telecommunications, depend heavily on a stable understanding of magnetic north. When the poles wobble, drift, or even reverse, as they have done many times in Earth's past, humanity faces both subtle challenges and catastrophic risks. We like to think technology makes us invincible, but in reality it is fragile, interwoven with the invisible shield of Earth's magnetosphere. That magnetosphere, created by the churning liquid iron core beneath our feet, is our planet's defense system against solar winds and cosmic radiation. As it weakens and shifts, satellites in orbit are left vulnerable, power grids experience surges, and radiation storms threaten electronic systems. Some scientists warn that during a full pole reversal the magnetic shield could weaken by as much as 90%, leaving Earth exposed. Others argue the process may take centuries, but even a few decades of instability could rewrite how societies function. Now imagine this playing out not in a vacuum of space science, but in the middle of everyday human life, where your car, your phone, and your internet stop working correctly. The global north, with its heavy reliance on interconnected systems, skyscraper-level infrastructure, and hyper-digital economies, would be shaken to the core. But in places where resilience has always been necessity, the story could unfold differently. Africa, often underestimated in global conversations about technology, is quietly preparing for a future that looks increasingly like the pole shift scenario. Not deliberately, perhaps, but through its approach to innovation, practical, adaptive, and resilient by design. This is why many futurists are now pointing to Africa as an unexpected compass for a disoriented world. In Kenya, mobile money systems like M-Pesa emerged not from abundance, but from the lack of traditional banking access. Millions of people conduct financial transactions daily without ever stepping into a bank, and the system thrives even in low connectivity regions. If geomagnetic chaos disrupts international clearinghouses or undermines timing signals that underpin the global financial system, local digital ecosystems like these could continue with fewer interruptions. They are not tied to the fragile assumptions of centralized timing or international synchronization in the way Wall Street or London banking is. In Nigeria, mesh networks have been deployed in rural communities where internet connectivity is scarce. These networks create decentralized webs of communication that work even when major providers fail. Imagine the value of such a system in a world where satellites, under attack from solar radiation bursts triggered by a weakened magnetic field, suddenly go offline. In Rwanda and Ghana, drone technology is not just an experiment, but a daily reality. Zipline's drone delivery systems move blood, vaccines, and urgent medical supplies to areas unreachable by road. These drones use hybrid systems of navigation capable of operating without total reliance on GPS. In a magnetic pole shift scenario where satellites flicker or GPS coordinates become unreliable, such technologies would not just survive, but thrive. And then there is the African approach to power. In much of the continent, large centralized power grids are absent or unreliable. Instead of waiting for massive infrastructure, communities have built solar microgrids, often managed cooperatively at a village level. These systems are not just stopgap solutions, they are robust, scalable, and self-reliant. When global grids dependent on precise synchronization collapse under geomagnetic stress, microgrids that can island themselves will continue delivering power. The very thing critics once saw as Africa's weakness, its lack of traditional infrastructure, may become its greatest strength in the age of magnetic chaos. Let us consider what a pole shift means for navigation on a personal scale. Your car's GPS would begin offering incorrect routes, planes could deviate from planned paths, and shipping vessels might lose their bearings mid-ocean. 4. Wealthy nations whose entire logistics industries depend on flawless digital mapping, this would be disastrous. But in African innovation hubs, engineers are already experimenting with alternative navigation, drawing from indigenous methods combined with modern AI, systems that mimic how birds migrate using stars, landmarks, and magnetic cues are being tested alongside visual recognition algorithms. If GPS is lost, these hybrid systems could guide drones, vehicles, and perhaps even large aircraft. This is not a distant dream. This is research being carried out right now in labs in South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria. Meanwhile, local innovators are working with quantum sensing technologies that measure gravitational anomalies and other stable planetary signals unaffected by geomagnetic drift. Imagine African-built navigation systems becoming the new standard in a post-GPS world, reshaping not just local transport but global trade. The irony is sharp. For decades, Africa was seen as dependent on imported technology, trailing behind global giants. But if the magnetic poles destabilize, Africa's solutions may not just be relevant, they may be essential. And this brings us to the question of resilience. Why is African tech so resilient? Because it is born in environments where failure is not an option. When a hospital loses power, lives are at stake, so engineers design systems that work off-grid. When banking services are inaccessible, innovators create mobile wallets. When roads are impassable, drones fly. This mindset is the opposite of fragility. It is anti-fragility, the ability to thrive in chaos. And chaos is exactly what a magnetic pole shift threatens to bring. To understand the gravity, consider what happens if the magnetosphere weakens further. A major solar storm, like the Carrington event of 1859, could send surges through power lines, frying transformers, and causing blackouts lasting months. Today, such an event would also cripple satellites, GPS systems, and internet backbones. NASA has already warned that modern society is far more vulnerable than in 1859 because everything is electrified and digitized. But Africa, where communities rely less on sprawling centralized grids, might weather the storm with greater resilience. Their distributed systems could restart faster, their local solutions could continue running, and their communities would adapt more quickly. In effect, Africa has been practicing survival in instability for decades, and now that practice could become the blueprint for the world. As we push deeper into this narrative, a new possibility emerges. What if Africa does not just survive the pole shift, but leads humanity through it? What if the innovations being tested in Nairobi, Lagos, Kigali, and Accra become the survival kit for a disoriented planet? Would the world finally recognize Africa not as a follower, but as a leader? Would global industries invest in scaling these resilient technologies instead of dismissing them as niche solutions for the developing world? These questions are not hypothetical, they are urgent. Because as the magnetic poles continue their restless drift, the countdown to disruption has already begun. And in that ticking clock lies both danger and opportunity. Africa's story may very well be the compass we never expected. The Earth is not warning us politely. It is shifting beneath our feet with silent determination. We often think of pole shifts as something abstract, a problem for geologists with timescales in millions of years. But the truth is that the magnetic poles are already drifting fast enough to disrupt human systems today. Airports have had to rename runways because their compass headings no longer align with magnetic north. Navigation charts are being updated more frequently, and pilots are trained to expect discrepancies that once were unthinkable. Submarines, which rely on precise magnetic navigation deep underwater, face growing complications. And yet, while the developed world feels the tremors of uncertainty, Africa may be writing a different story. Connectivity outages are not rare anomalies, they are challenges met with creativity. Where others panic, Africa innovates. Consider the rise of solar home systems across East Africa. Families light their homes with affordable solar panels, charge their phones, and even power small appliances without waiting for grid expansion. These systems are modular, meaning one family can expand their energy over time as resources allow. If a geomagnetic storm disables transformers in the United States, leaving entire cities in darkness, how do families cope? But in African villages, resilience is built in because the system is already local, already independent, already flexible. What once seemed like a limitation suddenly looks like foresight, and this foresight might extend into communications. When the internet first arrived in Africa, critics said it would fail because of infrastructure gaps. But Africans responded with mobile-first innovation, bypassing desktops entirely. Now Africa is one of the world's leaders in mobile internet penetration, reshaping how digital economies function. In Nigeria, mesh Wi-Fi systems are being developed to keep communities online even when central service providers collapse. During a pole shift, when satellites blink out and global internet falters, such systems could keep people connected locally. Connectivity becomes a survival tool, not just a luxury. Imagine an emergency response system built on resilient African mesh networks, while global internet systems scramble in chaos. Lives would be saved, not lost. Another vital sector to examine is agriculture. Precision agriculture in wealthy nations depends heavily on satellites, timing, and GPS-guided machinery. If magnetic instability disrupts these systems, yields could plummet overnight. But African farmers are developing hybrid models combining AI-driven apps, traditional wisdom, and simple, robust technologies.
These apps do not require pinpoint satellite accuracy, they offer guidance based on local data, weather patterns, and soil sensors. A farmer in Uganda can use a $30 solar sensor to optimize irrigation without any dependence on vulnerable satellites.
This is agriculture designed for chaos, and in a magnetic pole shift, it may be the only agriculture that continues to function efficiently. Even livestock farming shows unique resilience. In parts of Kenya and Ethiopia, herders use mobile platforms to monitor animal health and trade cattle digitally. These systems bypass fragile logistics chains that would collapse if global positioning systems are disabled. The very design philosophy is survival-driven. Now picture a planet where wealthy agricultural nations falter because their machines lose their digital bearings while African farmers continue harvesting. The balance of global food power could shift dramatically. This is not just speculation, it is a realistic scenario supported by how technology interacts with magnetic dependency. Because magnetic chaos reveals the truth, complexity is fragile and simplicity is strength. Africa has been building strength quietly for decades, and it is about to become visible to the entire world. One fascinating aspect is navigation itself. If compasses spin and GPS signals distort, humanity will need alternative methods of orientation. African researchers are already exploring bio-inspired navigation systems based on migratory birds, insects, and even whales. These animals navigate not just by magnetic fields, but by stars, smells, currents, and even internal biological clocks. By decoding these natural systems, African engineers could design navigation that works regardless of pole shifts. Imagine drones guided by patterns of starlight or autonomous cars that rely on quantum gyroscopes instead of GPS satellites. This is not science fiction. These technologies are already in prototype stages, and Africa, with its unique ecosystem of necessity-driven innovation, may deploy them first. The potential is staggering. Entire global industries could be forced to adopt African navigation models because nothing else works in a weakened magnetic field. The continent that was once dismissed as dependent could become the leader of the most vital systems on Earth. But this also raises another issue: recognition. Too often, African inventions are ignored until they are repackaged by Western corporations. The mobile money revolution was born in Kenya, but global fintech rarely gives it full credit. Drone delivery was pioneered in Rwanda before it was copied elsewhere. Resilient off-grid power was mastered in Africa before being studied in European labs. The pole shift may force the world to finally acknowledge Africa as a technological leader, because when survival is at stake, authenticity matters more than branding. Another dimension of this story is cultural. Africa has deep traditions of oral knowledge, indigenous navigation, and environmental awareness. These traditions have survived colonization, industrialization, and globalization, persisting in rural communities. If satellites fail, if compasses spin, if digital systems collapse, this ancient wisdom could re-emerge as invaluable. Knowing how to navigate by stars, winds, animal behavior, or even the smell of soil could save lives. Now imagine blending that wisdom with AI-driven systems in African labs. This fusion of ancient and modern could redefine global survival technology. African innovation is not only technological but holistic, drawing from culture, tradition, and necessity. And in the face of magnetic chaos, such holistic innovation may be humanity's best bet. The world is entering an era where resilience is more valuable than sophistication, where flexibility beats precision, where distributed systems outperform centralized giants, and Africa embodies that principle better than any other continent. This is not charity, it is reality. The global north will need Africa's ideas as much as Africa ever needed northern resources, perhaps more. And this shift in dependency could reshape global geopolitics. Imagine a future where African engineers are invited to redesign global navigation, African farmers teach resilient agriculture, and African entrepreneurs run global communication frameworks. The magnetic pole shift could accelerate this inversion of expectations. And the irony is profound. Africa, long seen as a follower, may become the compass guiding the entire planet.